The Holy Shonen Trinity, the Big Two. Any longtime reader of Shonen Jump will recognize these, some of the biggest titles of the manga and anime history, and it's time for two of shonen villains to throw down. Madara Uchiha, the most powerful villain of all time from Naruto series, and Yhwach, the enormously powerful Quincy King from Bleach. And it's our job to analyze their weapons, armor, and skills to find out who will win a death battle. Endless destruction, countless deaths, with the aim to conquer the planet. A time when the ninja world was at war for the first time. The only man who could save humanity from the grave was the same man who aimed to end all wars was Madara Uchiha. Madara was born during the Warring States period. Over the following years, he became the legendary leader of the Uchiha clan. Belonging to opposite clans, both Hashirama and Madara were forced to battle each other. Eventually, Madara was moved by Hashirama's gesture and finally agreed to peace. The Senju, the Uchiha, and all their affiliated clans came together to found a village of peace. Madara and Hashirama rekindled their childhood friendship, and Madara named the village Konohagakure, seeing it through the leaves. However, Madara's idea of peace differed from Hashirama's. Madara abandoned the village, desiring control so that peace could never be lost. He later returned to fight again with the new powers he gained as the reincarnation of Indra Otsutsuki. Madara was one of the most powerful shinobi in history, recognized as the strongest Uchiha ever produced even decades after his death. He was the only one able to push Hashirama Senju, a god of shinobi, to his absolute limits. When Obito operated under Madara's name, fear of Madara's power forced the 5 great shinobi countries and the neutral land of Iron to band together. As it was noted, Madara's name itself was power. He was able to, respectively, single-handedly defeat the 5 Kage and the 9-tailed beasts. Even by Uchiha standards, Madara was born with very powerful chakra, described as very foul and evil. This is partly because he inherited Indra's chakra. His large chakra reserves allowed him to fight non-stop for 24 hours before collapsing, and in his old age summoned the demonic statue of the Outer Path from its cage in the moon. His chakra control could perform complicated techniques with a single hand seal. He could also quickly absorb and synchronize Senjutsu chakra with his own and enter Sage mode despite having no prior training in Senjutsu. Madara was incredibly skilled in Taijutsu. Against the 4th Division, he calmly defeated thousands of opponents with physical combat. When Madara was reincarnated, Kabuto Yakushi modified him to be even greater than when he was alive. Madara was well versed in a variety of ninjutsu styles. He could use Juinjutsu, powerful enough to restrict the target's actions. His trademark weapon was his gunbai, with which he could shield himself and redirect attacks. After transplanting Hashirama's DNA, Madara could use wood release, a mixture of water and earth-natured chakra. After becoming the 10 Tails Jinchuriki, he could use yin release to create lightning bolts, and storm release. He is confronted by Might Guy, a master of Taijutsu, which is one of the only effective attacks against Madara in his new form. Guy opens all 8 gates and hits Madara with the Evening Elephant. Madara is nearly killed by the attack, which obliterates the entire left side of his body. I think there is nobody who can survive the attacks of Might Guy in the form of opened 8 gates, but Madara survived while he was about to kill. Naruto sends Madara crashing through the recreation of the 10 Tails in its giant tree form, a remnant of Obito's earlier battle. A voice speaks to Madara, telling him to absorb it. Madara does so and becomes stronger. Madara steals Kakashi Hatake's Mangekyo Sharingan and uses it. Naruto and Sasuke move to attack him as soon as Madara appears, so he delays them with multiple Chibaku Tensei. Madara gains proximity to the moon, awakening the Rini Sharingan in the process, and succeeds in casting the infinite Tsukuyomi. The entire world is trapped in a dream and then wrapped into Madara's god, nativity of a world of trees. However, Madara was deceived by his subordinate Black Zetsu, who stabbed him back and killed him. Madara uses his remaining time speaking to his true love Hashirama. Now the story of Madara Uchiha ends here.
I am merely an Uchiha ghost. I am Madara Uchiha.
The Quincy Blood War between the Gotei 13 and the Wandenreich 19 months after Sosuke Aizen's defeat, upending the status quo of Soul Society in many ways and leading to massive casualties on both sides. The mastermind behind all this is only the Quincy King Yhwach. Approximately 1,200 years ago, Yhwach was born to an unknown mother as the son of the Soul King. As a baby, Yhwach could not see, hear, speak, or even move. This occurred because he possessed the power to share out his own soul. Those who touched him received fragments of his soul. Yhwach is credited with being the progenitor of the Quincy, revered by them as their king, and his blood flows in every Quincy. Yhwach ever bestowed a shrift. Yhwach assigned himself the letter A to designate his ability of the Almighty. He found founded an empire of Quincy that he built up over the 200 years following his birth called Lichtreich. To conquer the Soul Society, he intended to create a unit called Sternritter for this purpose. About 1,000 years ago, Yhwach and the Lichtreich invaded the Soul Society and battled against the original Gotei 13. Yhwach himself fought Genryusai Shigekuni Yamamoto, witnessing the capabilities of Yamamoto's Bankai, Zanka no Tachi. Following this decisive battle with Yamamoto, Yhwach supposedly lost his powers. Quincy folklore spoke of him as the Sealed King. After 900 years of being sealed, he was to regain his pulse. After another 90, he would regain his intellect, and he would absorb the power of every impure Quincy to make their abilities his own, regaining his strength after 9 more years. With his Auswählen, Yhwach did so to Katagiri, killing her, and to Masaki Kurosaki, who died during her fight with Grand Fisher due to the loss of her powers. All impure Quincy were killed except for Uryu Ishida. At some point during the 17 months after the defeat of Sosuke Aizen, the Wandenreich conquered Hueco Mundo, and Yhwach personally defeated its ruler, Tyr Haribel. Afterwards, he attacked on Soul Society with his army Sternritter, and Yhwach makes his way into Muken in order to speak with Sosuke Aizen about possibly joining the Wandenreich as a special war power. Aizen refuses, citing the absurdity of the Quincy King walking the same path as a Shinigami. In the 1,000-year Blood War, both rivals face each other again. When Yamamoto attempts to use his Bankai, Yhwach steals it with his medallion. Yhwach then manifests a second weapon above him. With a wave of his sword, he bids Yamamoto farewell and attacks him. Yamamoto is bifurcated by the attack. He obliterates Yamamoto's body, taking his revenge for what happened 1,000 years ago. During the fight with Ichibe Hyosube, Yhwach activates Auswählen again and steals the power and life force of the Sternritter in the Serity below in order to revive his Schutzstaffel. Yhwach cuts off Ichibe's head and steps toward the Soul King, stabbing him. However, he is interrupted by the arrival of Ichigo and his friends behind him. Ichigo leaps past him in an attempt to help the Soul King, when Ichigo's right side is enveloped in Blutvene veins. Yhwach explains how the Quincy blood within him will never permit the existence of the Soul King, and invites Ichigo to watch the destruction of Soul Society as Ichigo slashes the Soul King across the chest and cut him into 2 pieces. Soon after, Yhwach completely absorbs the Soul King. Yhwach brings the Wandenreich city to the Soul King Palace, connecting it to the surrounding cities to form a Quincy Zeichen. He then creates a large tower-like palace, the Varveld, for his new stronghold. The final war begins between Ichigo and Yhwach. After a long, grueling fight, Ichigo cuts him in half. Yhwach dissolves into a mass of darkness, which shortly afterward engulfs a shocked Aizen. 10 years in the future, Yhwach attempts to use the Almighty to destroy the future by infiltrating it with his Reiatsu. However, due to Ichigo defeating him 10 years prior, the Reiatsu vanishes altogether.
Show no mercy. Crush the Soul Society.
Well, it was the short histories of both rivals in which we discover the powers and abilities of Madara and Yhwach. Let's now compare the difference of both rivals on the base of their abilities. On will be winner. Madara was the first Uchiha to awaken the Mangekyo Sharingan, which gave him fluidity in his movements. He could also use Susanoo, a giant humanoid avatar that fought on his behalf. With access to both of his Rinnegan, Madara could create shadows to assist him. Madara was a master of fire release nature transformation, which allowed him to create powerful techniques. He was also proficient in the fire release, Great Fireball technique. Madara was skilled at controlling his chakra, allowing him to perform complex techniques with a single hand seal. He could also absorb and synchronize Senjutsu chakra with his own, which put him into Sage mode. Madara was a skilled fighter who could overpower opponents twice his size. He could also strike with precision and dodge attacks from multiple directions. As a 10-tailed Jinchuriki, Madara can create the most powerful jutsu, Infinite Jutsu. That's the most powerful ability of Madara Uchiha. On the other hand, Yhwach has the combined power and abilities of every Quincy in the past 1,000 years, with 4 exceptions. Every Sternritter power, the power to give himself new abilities on the spot, Yamamoto's 4-stage Bankai, the ability to restore his own powers, the ability to negate any ability after understanding it and seeing it once, the body of the Soul King, the kingpin of reality for multiple planes of existence, the power to give others new abilities. Yhwach can see into all possible timelines and pick and choose which timeline he wants to play out. On the base of power and abilities, Yhwach is the winner.